Come here.
What do you have?
You love me?
Yes, I love you.
Come here.
What is it?
You love me? Back up. Back up.
No, what is it? What is that?
You love me?
Yes, I love you.
You love me?
Babe.
You love me?
Yes, I love you.
You wanna be my wife?
Babe, what is that? Babe, stop lying. Stop.
You see what it is? Look, y'all. I'm ready. Bitch, dance.
Babe.
You gonna marry me?
Yes, I will marry you.
Come here then.
She was 24, bright, beautiful, and full of life. Just 4 days after saying yes to the love of her life, Jakyra Ortiz vanished from the world without a word. Her last post was a picture of her smiling, hand raised to the camera, showing off the ring. The caption? Forever starts now. But forever didn't last. What happened in those 4 days? One moment, she was everyone's relationship goal. The next, her phone went silent. Her apartment locked. Her social media stopped. Friends called. Family worried. No one could reach her. And when police finally forced their way inside the Fayetteville apartment she shared with her fiancé, they found a scene so chilling it silenced the entire neighborhood. Jakyra Ortiz was dead. The man who had just asked her to be his wife, gone. What began as a fairy tale turned into a manhunt stretching across days, as police raced against time to track down Julian Wallace, the same man who, just days earlier, had knelt before Jakyra and promised her forever. But what kind of man proposes one day and disappears the next? What demons were hidden behind the photos, the posts, the smiles? And most importantly, what really happened behind closed doors? In this episode, we unravel the timeline from public proposal to private horror. We examine the online image of a perfect couple, the desperate search for Jakyra, and the ultimate betrayal that led to a first-degree murder charge. Stay with us as we dig deep into a story that reminds us all, love can look perfect until it kills. If you enjoy real crime stories that uncover the truth, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share real cases, spread awareness, and give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. Before we begin, let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what are your thoughts as the story unfolds. Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's begin. Jakyra Ortiz was a 24-year-old resident of Fayetteville, North Carolina. She lived in an apartment on Tamarack Drive, where she was later discovered deceased under suspicious circumstances in January 2025. Her name became widely recognized after a tragic series of events that ended with her fiancé, Julian Wallace, being arrested and charged with her murder. Before this event, Jakyra Ortiz led what appeared to be a normal, productive life with no publicly known issues or signs of conflict. Jakyra's educational background indicated a solid academic foundation. She was a graduate of E. Smith High School, located in Fayetteville, and had pursued further studies, reportedly in the field of business administration. While specific records of her college education or degree completion are not publicly available, friends and community sources describe her as someone who had long-term ambitions in entrepreneurship and online business. She had been working in retail and customer service while developing interest in independent business ventures. At the time of her death, she was not formally employed in a corporate role, but was involved in side projects, possibly including beauty-related services and social media content planning. Her work history, as gathered from LinkedIn-style sources and personal network data, showed a consistent pattern of employment in sales, hospitality, and client service roles. These included positions at department stores, online retail order management, and customer experience centers. There were no indications of recent job loss, financial distress, or significant professional instability prior to her death. Socially, Jakyra Ortiz was known to be outgoing, responsive, and involved. Friends describe her as friendly and communicative, regularly engaging in social media interactions, group outings, and local events. She maintained a steady online presence, particularly on Instagram and Facebook, where she posted updates about her daily life, fashion interests, and relationship. Her profile portrayed a well-liked young woman with an active digital and offline social life. There were no signs of social withdrawal or isolation reported by close contacts prior to her disappearance. Jakyra came from a supportive and tightly connected family. Her immediate relatives were residents of the Fayetteville area, and family involvement appeared frequent in her life. She often shared images with her mother, siblings, and cousins. Public records and statements from relatives indicate that she had a history of stable family interactions. There were no official reports of domestic instability or abuse in her upbringing. Following her disappearance, family members were among the first to report her missing and to request a welfare check at her residence, highlighting the ongoing involvement and concern of her household. The timeline of her relationship with Julian Wallace is not publicly documented in great detail, but available information suggests they had been in a romantic relationship for at least 1 to 2 years. They were known as a couple within their local social circle and had attended multiple public events together. The engagement occurred shortly before the incident, within the same month. Based on digital timestamps and photographic evidence, Jakyra and Julian got engaged in early January 2025, and she announced it through a social media post featuring photos of her ring and a caption indicating excitement for the next chapter of their life. There were no public indications of instability in the relationship. The couple often posted images of themselves on dates, vacations, or simply spending time together at home. Their photos were accompanied by captions implying mutual affection and long-term commitment. Neither Jakyra nor Julian had posted content that suggested conflict, regret, or distress in the relationship. There were no police reports or protective orders filed between them prior to the incident. The Fayetteville Police Department confirmed that they had no documented domestic violence calls related to Jakyra's address. Friends and co-workers, when questioned, also did not provide any prior allegations or suspicions of abuse. To those who observed their relationship from the outside, it appeared to be a stable partnership. The engagement post received hundreds of likes and congratulatory comments, with no negative or warning responses. On or around January 12, 2025, Jakyra Ortiz, a 24-year-old woman from Fayetteville, North Carolina, accepted a marriage proposal from her boyfriend, Julian Wallace, age 26. The engagement was not done privately. It was documented and shared across social media platforms, primarily Facebook and Instagram. Multiple photos and videos from the event were posted by both Jakyra and Julian. In the images, Jakyra is seen smiling, showing off her engagement ring. The caption read, "He asked and I said yes. I can't wait to spend forever with you, Julian." The proposal appeared to take place either at a small private venue or inside a decorated room. Based on timestamps and shared images, the setup included candles, rose petals, balloons, and a "Will you marry me?" banner. There were no indicators of stress, disagreement, or hesitation. The couple's attire was coordinated. Following the post, the reaction was immediate. Friends flooded the comment sections with congratulations. Dozens of comments praised the couple. Several called them relationship goals. Family members also shared the post, expressing happiness and support. One relative referred to Julian as finally part of the family. The engagement video received hundreds of likes and shares, with people reposting it to their own profiles. It was clear the couple had created a public image of happiness, unity, and forward planning. Jakyra herself made several follow-up posts. In one, she wrote, "This is the beginning of the rest of our lives." In another, she referred to Julian as her safe place and future husband. She updated her relationship status on Facebook to engaged. Her Instagram story on January 13th featured photos of her ring with background music and heart emojis. There were no posts or messages that hinted at conflict, dissatisfaction, or fear. This engagement and its public announcement occurred just 4 days before her body would be discovered inside her Fayetteville apartment. Can an engagement mask something sinister beneath? Can social media paint over red flags we never get to see? After the engagement, Jakyra remained active online for the next 2 days. She posted engagement ring selfies, a reel of proposal clips, and brief messages to her followers thanking them for their support. On the evening of January 14th, her activity stopped. She did not post on January 15th. She did not respond to comments or messages. Her phone calls began going unanswered. Friends began to notice. According to those who communicated with her daily, this silence was unusual. Jakyra was known to respond to texts promptly. She maintained an active online presence. Some of her friends began sending her direct messages asking if she was okay. There was no reply. By January 16th, concern had escalated. One friend attempted to call her, but received only voicemail. Another reportedly tried to visit her apartment, but got no answer at the door. The lights were off. There was no movement inside. Her car was reportedly parked outside, but there was no sign of Jakyra herself. Family members began to worry. Her mother and cousin attempted to reach her by phone multiple times. Messages went unread. Social media showed no recent activity. The last post was a celebratory one from her engagement. When someone goes silent after a life-changing event, how long should you wait before becoming concerned? What is the appropriate response time when unusual silence follows public joy? On January 16, 2025, officers with the Fayetteville Police Department responded to a welfare check request at an apartment on Tamarack Drive in Cumberland County, North Carolina. The call was initiated after several days of silence from 24-year-old Jakyra Ortiz, who had recently become engaged. Her family had grown concerned following the sudden drop in communication. According to reports, she was known to stay in close contact with her loved ones, and any extended silence was considered highly unusual. Upon arrival, officers attempted to make contact at the front door. After receiving no response, they forced entry into the apartment. Inside, they discovered the body of a young woman, later confirmed to be Jakyra Ortiz. The scene was described in reports as showing clear signs of foul play. Specific details regarding the condition of the body were not released to public, but law enforcement stated there was physical trauma consistent with a violent death. Early findings indicated blunt force injuries. The residence was immediately secured as a crime scene. Initial observations by responding officers led to the case being classified as a homicide. Detectives with the Fayetteville Police Department's homicide unit took over the investigation. Evidence collection began, including documentation of the scene, forensic sampling, and interviews with neighbors and nearby residents. At the time of discovery, the apartment belonged to both Jakyra Ortiz and her fiancé, Julian Wallace, age 26. Investigators noted that Wallace was not at the scene. Attempts to locate or contact him were unsuccessful. He had not reported Jakyra missing. He had not spoken to police. His vehicle was not parked at the residence. There were no signs of forced entry into the apartment, suggesting that the victim may have known her attacker and allowed them inside willingly. With growing suspicion in the absence of the victim's fiancé, police publicly named Julian Wallace as a person of interest. Within 24 hours of the body's discovery, an official arrest warrant was issued for Wallace, charging him with first-degree murder. The manhunt began on January 17, 2025. The Fayetteville Police Department issued a BOLO, be on the lookout, alert. Julian's photo, physical description, and known vehicle information were distributed to law enforcement agencies across the region. Local media outlets began running the story, which quickly circulated across social media platforms. The case gained attention due to the couple's recent engagement, which had been publicly celebrated online. The rapid escalation, from engagement to homicide within days, contributed to public interest and widespread sharing of updates. Authorities did not disclose details about Julian Wallace, last known location, or possible motive. However, based on the available information, they believed he was actively evading capture. The police asked the public to avoid approaching him and to report any sightings immediately. They warned that he could be armed and dangerous. Over following days, tips were submitted by members of the public. Investigators tracked possible movements and narrowed down locations based on digital traces and eyewitness accounts. Surveillance footage, phone records, and traffic camera data were reviewed as part of the search effort. On January 23, 2025, after nearly a full week on the run, Julian Goodwallace was located and apprehended. Law enforcement did not release full details of the arrest operation, but confirmed that it was conducted without incident. He was taken into custody and transported to the Cumberland County Detention Center. Upon booking, Goodwallace was formally charged with first-degree murder in connection with the death of Jakyra Ortiz. He was held without bond pending his initial court appearance. Investigators continue collecting evidence to support the case, including autopsy results, forensic findings from the crime scene, and electronic communications between the suspect and the victim. At the time of this report, Julian Goodwallace had not entered a plea. The investigation remained active, with the Fayetteville Police Department working alongside the district attorney's office to build a prosecutable case. A court date was scheduled, and legal proceedings were expected to move forward in the coming months. The incident drew attention not only for its suddenness, but also due to the sharp contrast between the couple's online image and the events that unfolded in private. The case remains under legal review, with updates to follow as court proceedings develop. Following the discovery of 24-year-old Jakyra Ortiz's body inside the couple's shared Fayetteville apartment, authorities quickly named her fiancé, 26-year-old Julian Goodwallace, as the primary suspect. The manhunt began immediately. During his first court appearance, prosecutors presented the gravity of the charge and the concern for public safety. The judge ruled to deny bond, citing the severity of the allegations and flight risk concerns. This meant Julian would remain in custody, pending further legal proceedings. He was assigned a public defender. Fayetteville police released a public statement confirming the arrest. According to authorities, the homicide investigation had revealed sufficient probable cause to pursue the first-degree murder charge. Police clarified that there was no ongoing threat to the public and reassured the community that the case was being handled thoroughly. No further details were released about the circumstances surrounding his arrest, in line with protocol for an ongoing investigation. Law enforcement also urged the public to refrain from spreading unverified claims on social media. Julian Goodwallace's next scheduled court appearance was set within 30 days of his initial arraignment. Prosecutors are expected to present preliminary evidence during a probable cause hearing. The court process could span several months, potentially leading to a grand jury indictment if the case proceeds to trial. The community response to the arrest was immediate. Many expressed disbelief that someone who recently proposed marriage could be facing a first-degree murder charge. Social media accounts, especially those showing the couple together just days before the incident, were flooded with comments. Some community members organized digital vigils and awareness posts, while others shared opinions about relationship safety and the unpredictability of private abuse. As more details began to emerge from police reports and public statements, the focus shifted to understanding what led to the homicide. The investigation centered on motive, prior warning signs, and forensic evidence. While authorities have not publicly disclosed a definitive motive, reports indicate that domestic tension may have been a factor. There is speculation of a dispute escalating into violence shortly after the engagement. Sources close to the case stated that there may have been signs of control or behavioral changes in the relationship, but this has not been confirmed by police. No official statement has been released regarding the murder weapon. However, the cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma, and the condition of the apartment suggested a struggle had occurred. Police have not confirmed whether a household object was used or if the attack was premeditated. At the time of reporting, no documented history of domestic abuse was available in public records. However, neighbors and acquaintances have since reported hearing arguments coming from the apartment in prior weeks. Law enforcement has not verified these accounts. No restraining orders or prior police visits to the residence were recorded. Friends of Jakyra Ortiz told reporters that she had never mentioned any concerns about Julian. They described her as private and said she always spoke positively about the relationship. Some observers noted that her social media posts were perfect, which could have masked any issues. No prior arrests or criminal background for Julian Goodwallace had been confirmed. However, law enforcement has not ruled out the possibility that tension in the relationship played a central role in the homicide. According to preliminary forensic analysis, there were signs of physical altercation inside the apartment. Evidence collected from the scene is being processed to match with Julian Goodwallace's profile. surveillance footage, cell phone records, and digital communications are under review to establish a timeline. The apartment was secured, and additional interviews with nearby residents and the victim's family have been conducted. Police emphasize the importance of letting the evidence guide conclusions, warning against assumptions without verified data. Family members of Jakyra have refrained from detailed public comments, asking for privacy. One brief statement described her as loved, vibrant, and taken too soon. Friends expressed confusion and sadness, but acknowledged they had no idea anything was wrong. Did anyone see this coming? Were there warning signs? If a public engagement happened just days before the killing, what happened behind closed doors? Was this relationship always a threat, or did something shift suddenly? Good Wallace was denied bond during his first court appearance, which was held at the Cumberland County Courthouse. The appearance took place in a closed hearing shortly after his transfer into custody. During the session, the judge informed him of the charges brought against him and confirmed the no bond order due to the severity of the alleged crime. The prosecution emphasized the nature of the offense, citing sufficient probable cause based on the scene, timing, and witness testimonies obtained from neighbors and family members. No plea was entered during this initial hearing. Instead, a public defender was appointed to represent Good Wallace, as he reported having no private legal counsel. The district attorney's office confirmed that the case is being treated as a capital offense, pending further evidence and developments. A spokesperson for the Cumberland County District Attorney's Office stated that the investigation remains ongoing and that forensic evidence is still being processed. In particular, the timeline between the engagement and Ortiz's death is a key focus. Investigators are analyzing communication records, apartment surveillance footage, and forensic results from the crime scene. The DA declined to speculate on motive, but confirmed that evidence of physical trauma was found and matched the alleged timeline of events. No formal trial date has been announced at this stage, as the case remains in pretrial status. However, a series of pretrial motions are expected to be filed, including motions for discovery, possible psychiatric evaluations, and requests for the exclusion or inclusion of digital evidence obtained from social media and cell phone data. A status hearing has been scheduled within the upcoming months, where the court will assess the readiness of both the prosecution and defense to proceed. The DA's office has indicated its intention to pursue a full trial unless a plea deal is introduced by the defense, a possibility that has not yet been formally discussed. If convicted of first-degree murder, Julian Good Wallace could face life imprisonment without parole or potentially the death penalty, depending on prosecutorial strategy and the findings of the ongoing investigation. News of Jakyra Ortiz's death and the subsequent arrest of her fiancé for her murder generated widespread attention both locally and nationally. Major news outlets, including ABC 11 News, WRAL, and multiple national blogs, quickly picked up the story, highlighting the timeline from public engagement to death within just 4 days. Young woman engaged, then murdered days later. Fayetteville man charged with fiancé's death after viral engagement. A proposal, then silence. Timeline of the Jakyra Ortiz case. The story gained further traction as viewers across the country shared and commented on Ortiz's final social media posts, which included photos of the engagement ring and expressions of hope for the future. These posts created a visual timeline of the couple's life leading up to the fatal event, fueling questions and online theories about the sudden and violent end. On social media platforms, especially Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook, users began sharing the couple's photos with captions like, "It was all lie, R.I.P. Jakyra," and "Protect women at all costs." Some users expressed disbelief at the sequence of events, while others used the story to discuss the broader topic of intimate partner violence and its often hidden nature. The hashtag Justice for Jakyra trended in regional discussions, especially in North Carolina. Numerous YouTube channels and true crime podcasters began covering the story, creating timelines, analyzing police reports, and examining possible red flags in the couple's public history. These analyses often compared the case to similar incidents where social media appearances masked dangerous dynamics within a relationship. Discussions on message boards like Reddit's r/true crime highlighted theories about possible motives, past relationship issues, and whether signs of violence have been ignored or hidden. Some users questioned the responsibility of platforms in perpetuating curated, perfect couple images without encouraging users to speak openly about abuse. In Fayetteville, several local vigils were held in honor of Jakyra Ortiz. Candles, posters, and photos of her were placed outside the apartment complex where she was found. Community members, including neighbors, former classmates, and advocacy groups against domestic violence, gathered to remember her and speak out against relationship abuse. Local nonprofit organizations use the incident to raise awareness and increase outreach efforts to prevent future cases. A GoFundMe campaign was also launched by Ortiz's family to assist with funeral expenses and legal costs related to the case. The campaign gained support from strangers who were moved by the story's shocking nature and the public display of love that preceded the murder. As of now, the public continues to monitor the case closely. Online discussions remain active, and any new legal updates are rapidly shared across multiple platforms. The case has become a flashpoint in discussions about digital image versus real-life safety, and many are awaiting the court's final decision. The case of Jakyra Ortiz and Julian Wallace presents multiple lessons that extend beyond the headline of a tragic murder. It highlights real-world issues involving domestic violence, the deceptive nature of curated online relationships, and the limitations of identifying abuse without visible signs. As the story of this engagement-turned-homicide circulates, viewers and communities are left to examine deeper truths that may be uncomfortable but necessary to confront. What can people learn from this? This case shows that social media cannot be relied upon to measure the health or authenticity of a relationship. Despite public displays of affection and celebration of a recent engagement, events behind closed doors told a different story. Jakyra Ortiz's death within days of saying yes challenges the assumption that public happiness equals private safety. People can also learn that early intervention matters. When someone goes silent unexpectedly, it should not be dismissed. In Jakyra's case, her sudden lack of communication raised concern quickly among friends and family, which led to the discovery of her body. Prompt action and community vigilance played a key role in ensuring the case did not go unresolved longer. The legal system and law enforcement response also provide a lesson. A fast-moving investigation, combined with coordinated public alerts and a focused manhunt, resulted in the arrest of Julian Wallace within 1 week. This shows that rapid information sharing and active public involvement can assist in locating suspects and supporting justice efforts. Additionally, the case underscores the importance of thoroughly understanding the people individuals choose to build a life with. Romantic relationships, especially those leading to cohabitation or marriage, require time, transparency, and caution. Trust must be earned through behavior over time, not merely through verbal promises or grand gestures like a proposal. Can someone truly hide who they are? Yes. Individuals can mask aggressive tendencies, controlling behaviors, or violent impulses from the outside world, sometimes for long periods. Many abusers manage to keep their public image spotless while engaging in harmful conduct in private. Jakyra's case illustrates that someone can appear committed, loving, and respectful in public, while possibly being volatile and dangerous in private. It is possible for close friends and family to miss signs of abuse if the perpetrator is skilled at concealment. This reflection challenges people to remain vigilant and not rely solely on appearances. Do we trust what we see online too easily? Yes. Online posts are often curated to display idealized versions of life and relationships. Images of happiness, luxury, or unity may not reflect the reality behind the scenes. Social media encourages people to document only the high points, filtering out any signs of struggle or conflict. In Jakyra's case, her engagement was announced and celebrated online. However, just 4 days later, she was found dead. This contrast exposes how digital content can be misleading and why people should be cautious in using social media as a measure of truth. How do we recognize early signs of control or abuse? Common signs of emotional or physical abuse include isolation from friends or family, excessive checking in or monitoring by a partner, sudden changes in personality or behavior, fear or anxiety around a partner's moods, unexplained injuries or vague explanations, a partner making all decisions or controlling access to money, transportation, or communication. These signs may not always be obvious. Many victims downplay or hide what they're experiencing. For outsiders, consistency in observing patterns over time is key. Asking direct but non-judgmental questions and creating safe spaces for conversation can make it easier for victims to open up. Viewers should also understand that abuse can occur in any demographic, regardless of background, education, or social standing. What protections exist for individuals in private relationships? Legal protections include restraining orders, emergency protective orders, domestic violence shelters, and anonymous reporting hotlines. However, these resources often rely on the victim recognizing the threat and taking action. In private relationships, especially those not yet marked by visible harm, these protections may not be used early enough. Public education, community awareness, and personal boundary setting are crucial. Encouraging open conversations about healthy relationships and red flags can help people assess risks earlier. Bystanders, friends, and family members also have a role in identifying possible warning signs and encouraging action when something feels off. Technology-based safety measures, such as emergency apps, location sharing, and encrypted messaging, can also assist individuals who feel unsafe in their relationships. Institutions, workplaces, and universities should reinforce awareness campaigns and ensure that victims know where to turn for help before a crisis emerges. Jakyra's story is a painful reminder that danger can exist behind the most beautiful smiles. What appears to be perfect may be hiding something fatal. Engagement rings, filtered photos, and social praise can mask a brewing threat. Viewers are encouraged not to look away from stories like this. Instead, they should use them as a tool to recognize warning signs, challenge false perceptions, and advocate for more conversations about safety, trust, and transparency in relationships. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.